Hi, this is Ajit Navlakha, and I'm so excited to bring you our latest masterclass on the 5 fundamentals of human transformation. Have you had the need to check in on what is the science behind how your client will change? Do you find it difficult to explain how you create results? Has that been leading to lower client enrollment than what you would like? If those have been your struggles, you're at the right place. In this masterclass, we will talk about integrating coaching, science, and psychology. Now, I don't know how you stumble onto this class, but if this is your first time watching an EverCoach masterclass, welcome to the tribe. Also know that our classes are very transformational and very fast-paced. This means you want to turn off any distractions around you and download the workbook below. There have been many developments in coaching that have empowered coaches to use solid scientific, evidence-based facts to enable real change. The study of psychology has allowed for the discovery and validation of many practices known to assist in achieving an optimal life. Psychology in coaching can help you identify sources of error in their own thinking and develop more effective approaches to any situation. So you can now rely on proven research to quickly improve your coaching skills and accelerate results for your clients. It all begins when you take the time to understand the latest, greatest theories and methodologies in the science of coaching psychology. In this class, we will show you the 5 fundamentals that have been tested and have been proven. Coaches who base their practice on tested frameworks and techniques tend to coach with a lot more confidence. Why? Because their methods are effective and their clients achieve desired outcomes. This masterclass translates the research you need to know in order to boost your coaching career and confidence in easy-to-digest format. To teach and explain all of this, we turn to the master who has been working on it for over 2 decades. My guest for today's masterclass is Margaret Moore. Margaret is an entrepreneur, coach, trainer, coaching executive, and a seasoned executive coach, helping leaders and their teams quickly transcend their growth edges to improve performance and thrive. Following 17 years in leadership roles in the biotechnology industry, Margaret found Well Coaches Corporation to build the coaching workforce in healthcare. Well Coaches has trained 12,000 coaches across 50 countries. A thought leader in coaching science, Margaret is also the co-founder and chair of the Institute of Coaching at McLean Hospital, a Harvard Medical School affiliate, and co-founded the Coaching in Leadership and Healthcare conference offered by Harvard Medical School. Margaret teaches coaching psychology at Harvard Extension School and transformational leadership and coaching in Harvard Medical School global education programs. She has had 20 peer-reviewed papers on coaching and 2 Harvard Health books. Margaret is an outstanding coach herself who has had many of her clients raving about her. Here are a few of them. Laura from Beth Israel Lahi Health said, "I'm writing to thank you for the wonderful job you did with our Leadership Institute. Inspiring and affirming, very popular one-word descriptions. Joining with colleagues in a productive day that was so non-hierarchical, collaborative, creative, and heartfelt gave me a new understanding of transformation." Victoria, who is an executive coach herself, says, "Thank you again for the great course. I immediately began to implement many of the coaching techniques I learned in a much more intentional and thoughtful way, and the results are outstanding." Bob, who is a financial planner that engaged with Margaret, said, "It's been 10 months since I attended your coaching psychology class, and I'm pretty sure you've changed my life more than all my professors combined. From the bottom of my heart, thanks for all that you have done for me professionally and personally." There are so many more testimonies of Margaret's work I can read here. I want you to expect the same outstanding learning experience for yourself in this class. In a short minute, we'll be sitting down with Margaret, but before that, I want you to take a short walk into your future. Imagine how it would be like when in the coming few months you have the insight and education that is backed by science, where your clients are getting even faster and more permanent results. How would it feel like when your clients are impressed by your new insight? How would you feel when you get that call from your excited client sharing how the last session completely changed their life? Would it be amazing knowing that your clients want to work with you again and again. That they want to refer your services to their friends again and again. How powerful you feel knowing that you can have that. You can have the clients you want, the transformation you want for them, and the confidence you want for yourself. Isn't that powerful? Doesn't that sound exciting? Well, you can have all of that as you soak in what we talk about in this class. To soak it all in, I invite you to download the workbook if you haven't already. It'll guide you along and help you capture more through this class. So let's wait no more. Please welcome Margaret Moore. Margaret, thank you so much for taking the time coming all the way from Boston to have this conversation with us.
Thank you, Ajit. Of course, the sunshine was a big draw, but it's just as good to be with you too.
Thank you. So, Margaret, today we wanted to focus on the fundamentals of really creating transformation in human beings. And you've done so much great work around it. You've done so much research, years of work that has gone into it. And you've really distilled it down to 5 key things that really, really are important when somebody is coaching somebody and trying to create the transformation for them. And first of the things that you talk about is the psychology of coaching. Tell us more about that. What does it even mean to start with?
Right. So the term psychology really is just a term to describe a particular domain of science. And science is all about developing hypotheses and showing what's true and what's not. And when it comes to human nature, that's no small thing, right? It's very hard to design experiments in psychology. It's very hard to get clear answers. And so today, we are so fortunate because there are some giants in psychology. These are scientists who've spent their lives, like decades, creating a whole domain with maybe 1,000 research studies. And so that science, which is worthy of a textbook, right? Not just one-off experiments that may never be replicated, but so that science today wasn't here when I started 20 years ago. The psychology is essentially the truth of human nature at its best, the distillation of all this work by these brilliant scientists to give us some truths that we can depend on.
Oh, that's wonderful. So why does this become so important in today's time? Of course, because it's scientific, there is backstory to it, but why is it so important in context of coaching?
Well, coaching's about facilitating change, and over time, change multiplies into transformational change, right? Over time, small changes lead to transformation. And we've always wanted change. We've always wanted positive change and transformation. But you would agree that in today's world, we have never more needed transformational change. The human race, how we do things, how we live our lives, isn't working, right? It's not sustainable. There's no predicting the future anymore. If somebody tells you that they think they can predict the future, forget it, because when you add all this together, we just don't know where we will be. So that means all of us need to understand the ingredients of change, and we can't afford to sit on a plateau any longer. And the reason that we know that is the change accelerates, the stress of the change accelerates, and so we've got to be able to deal with that, which means we have to keep changing and growing so the stress is no longer stressful. So this is the era when change is changing, change is accelerating, the human ability to change is not keeping up. And so we need to understand these principles in order to maybe not get ahead of the change, but at least keep up so that we're not in over our heads every day.
That's beautiful. And isn't it fascinating that we, in the coaching space, haven't really been taught a lot around the psychology of coaching? What do you think is some of the common dialogues that maybe the limitations that have happened in the coaching industry just because of the way we've evolved as an industry? What are some of the lies that we may have been told around the psychology of coaching, or the myths that may have happened around the psychology of coaching?
When I started in this field, and I would go to the International Coach Federation conferences, there were no scientists there. And the first coaching research symposium was in 2003 that I went to. I led a team there to create a theory for what coaches call the intuitive dance of coaching. And in my session, in my group, my team said, we don't want a theory because it will wreck the concept of the intuitive dance. Intuition isn't science. And I said, you guys are crazy. I mean, I had grown up in biotechnology field. Science does not explain but a small layer of human nature. but when it's well-developed science, it's powerful. And so to think that theory would in fact be a negative around something like this was just didn't make any sense to me. So a year later, being a rebel, we had a theory for the intuitive dance and we published it, and that's the relational flow model that's in this course. So back in those days in the early 2000s, coaches, even coaches with psychology background, thought that coaching is this creative, nonlinear, emergent process that science can't unpack. It's not amenable to scientific study. And I understand the art, but science is the search for the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Through experiments. So we may not be there in a lot of areas, but it is a search, and it's a logical, legitimate search for truth. So as coaches today, now we have a lot of really good science. It does not answer all the questions. In my coaching sessions, I do not use science all the time, but I understand the scientific building blocks, and I think we know we have a lot more of those building blocks than we used to, and it leads to more effective, more reliable, more consistent coaching outcomes.
And it's important to know those fundamentals, because if you are not aware of those, it's harder to build the art on top of it because you don't know what the fundamentals are.
Well, like
what's
just
the building blocks are.
take the best artists, Rembrandt and Da Vinci, and they had a lot of scientific experimentation right around what they did. They launched fields of scientific inquiry. So every great art is based on technique that came from trial and error hypotheses. You don't start from scratch. So it's the foundation, it's a scientific foundation for the art to flourish. I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah, and I love the analogy of music that you just made. It's like, hey, listen, or art generally is, I was just thinking about if you want to learn music, you just don't go, okay, I'm just going to stop playing. That's just not how it works. You first learn how the first keys work, and then you build on that, and that's how you become a real artist, is because you first understand the fundamentals, and you kind of get capture and emotion of that. So, Margaret, tell me, how would coaching, the psychology, the part, would actually play into a real coaching scenario? If you could expand on this using like an example or something that may have happened.
Right, good. So what's interesting is that most people's level of awareness of themselves is not that high. We live our lives, we're busy, we create work lives, we create personal lives, but we don't have a lot of awareness of what makes us tick. Mm-hmm. We didn't really learn that in school. And so most people really don't understand what they truly want. They think, I'm not living the life that's meant for me. For some reason, I can feel it. I feel a dissonance. Like I don't feel like I'm the person I'm supposed to be. I'm not doing the things. And in a good coaching conversation, we're actually helping people find their life force. It's like the energy that wherever it comes from, soul or, biology, it is your force. It's like the fire inside that burns. And the hotter it burns, the bigger, if it's like a torch. But a lot of people's life force is like a flickering candle. It's not burning very hot, and it's wavering. And they're being driven by what other people want or what their society or culture wants for them. So I'm working with a CEO right now, and most CEOs, because of the challenges in the world, are carrying, like Atlas, carrying the world on their shoulders, right? It's a heavy load being a leader today. And when you have a heavy load, it can, in fact, sit right on your life force. So you can't breathe. So you're busy and you're accomplishing things, and life is good in many ways, but you feel like you're not doing what you're meant to do. And I have days like that too. I mean, everybody does. And so when you are able to draw out through open questions, which we've learned through the field of motivational interviewing with reflections and deep listening, people feel like things slow down and they can stop, and their true selves can start to speak. Just like the photographer was trying to capture somebody's true self in the moment. The true self is like flickering, right? Because we're living a life which is built around a lot of expectations and making a living and taking care of your family and all of that. So helping people actually touch and feel the fire, the flame. We give people the space for it to come up and for them to feel it. And it's pretty powerful.
It
when
is.
people
It is so
touch their
powerful.
real force.
Absolutely. And that's one of our primary jobs, like you said, is to get that fire to go again and be even more powerful. And especially while working with executives or CEOs and so forth, it's even more important that we focus on that. The second element that you talk about as becoming a holistic coach is what you call mastering your mind. What does that mean, and what does that imply?
Yeah. So the brain, we now know, is made up of networks, which are connecting all areas of the brain. And in any moment, some networks are turned on and some are turned down, right? So in a coaching session, we can intentionally turn on, dial up and dial down different networks, okay? So you start a coaching session, and I'm an extroverted thinker, but that's not helpful, because if I'm thinking, I'm analyzing, and you can feel my energy as I'm analyzing. Even if I'm not judging, I could actually turn into judging, and now I'm judging you, and you can really feel that. But if I'm analyzing, you're not really feeling my warmth, right? So you have to turn on your feeling, your empathy, your compassion. So instead of the analytical, logical thinking brain, now I'm coming from there's a human being here with a heart that cares about things, that is vulnerable. And so I've had to, as a coach, learn how to dial down the thinking and dial up. I have them all, but I'm dominated. My first extroverted, go-to way of being. And then you have the extroverted sensors, who are the folks like Richard Branson, who jump out of airplanes and want to try all kinds of different foods. And, if today is anything like yesterday, they're bored. So that's sensing. I want sensory experience, lots of it. And so we might bring that out in a coaching session to the sense of adventure. So what would it be like to have fun with this? And what would be new and novel and exciting? So that's the sensory piece. And then the most important dimension in coaching is to draw on intuition. So 20 years ago, when we were talking about, as coaches, the intuitive dance, the neuroscientists did not have a map for intuition. It was considered to be woo-woo, to have nonlinear thinking where you actually receive information. Like, do you remember the story of Mozart when he was in a carriage coming home from dinner, and an entire symphony dropped into his head, and then he went and wrote it all down? Okay, like, I know it doesn't happen to me, probably doesn't happen to you, doesn't happen to many of us, but that intuition arrives. So it can't arrive if you're thinking, or you're feeling, or you're sensing, because it's a quiet receiving mode, right? And in today's world, we have no time, right? There's no, even if you're standing in a line, you're on your phone. You're never receiving, right? You're always sending. Or when you're receiving, it's more like a download from a phone as opposed to real intuition. And so being a coach and working with people, you're actually slowing things down so that their intuition can surface the wisdom. Different from scientific truth, but the wisdom, like the insight. Like, what's the right answer here, which normally you can't get to through logic. So mastering your mind is understanding these different functions and these different parts of you. And in a coaching session, there is a time for thinking. You've got options. You have to analyze, what are you going to do next? Okay, what's your goal? What's it going to look like? Brainstorm, backup plans, plenty of thinking. But in the middle of the session, you're in nonlinear intuition mode. In the beginning, you're in empathy, feeling mode. And so a good coaching session is actually intentionally drawing out all these different aspects of the mind and the functions of our brain.
The way you explained is beautiful. You're going to be able to tap into intuition like Mozart only when you slow down, when you're in a carriage ride or something like that, as that
and
example.
And there's no phone to look at.
And there's no phone to look at. And that could be so powerful when we're working with somebody, because that's a part of our brains or minds that we don't get to access enough of, because we are always like in that go mode that we're never really slowing down. As a coach, you can bring that power to a session and create that capability create that space, not capability per se, but that space for somebody to really receive all of that, or to lean into it. Yeah. How has that shown up in a client's life, in a session that you may have done, or post-session that you may have experienced, where you went, well, this happened with this person, and this is where they received that download?
Yeah, right. If you think about the intuition as some kind of information that you receive that is kind of wisdom or insight, I consider that like the peak of the session. So when a client arrives with the issue of the day, it's a problem with somebody they work with, or they failed to do something and they didn't sleep, or whatever didn't go as hoped. Which as a coach we say, oh, good, we're getting somewhere because we're hitting the roadblocks. If we're not hitting roadblocks, there's no growth, because then we're just we're just basically doing one thing at a time and there's no change happening. So you've heard of the term the aha moment, right? The moment when you go, oh. And you've had those experiences. We've all, and you're a coach, you know what these experiences are. That's the peak of a coaching session, is when aha, I see this. So I recently had another client who, it's interesting, like in one-on-one situations, lots of great listening. In the work situation, though, ego in place, I know what to do. This very typical for executives, right? You know what to do, you stop listening to what people are telling you because you already know the answer. You've already thought about this like 10 times deeper than they have, and so you know it. And so here you have someone who's naturally, if your child or your spouse, you might be able to listen, but then you can't turn it off. And what happens when you have a big job is that you have to make decisions all the time. So you have to judge. This happens with doctors a lot. Doctors are in a mode of diagnosing. They have to evaluate and judge. Okay, so that judging is incredibly important. It's essential. You have to have good judgment. But then when you're with another person, the judgment comes forward and you shut down the listening. You can't judge because you're sending, and listen, right? Receive. So an insight is, oh my goodness, I am judging in that moment, and therefore I'm not receiving. And that's an insight. Oh, like I never realized that was happening. I never noticed why I stopped listening. It was because I was overusing my judgment. So that's a good example of an intuition arriving. Oh, like you can almost see people's faces open. It's almost like they have more space in their minds. Because the tight ego hasn't got space. Intuition needs space to come in, right? So the moment of insight is a momentary opening of mind. And then when you open your mind with the insight, then new possibilities. So the research has shown that in those moments of insight, you're more likely, you have a more open mind, and you're more likely to take risks. You're more likely to do something new. Now, you can have the insight and then, you have a glass of wine, you forget about it. But as a coach, we don't let it pass. So we make sure you got the insight, and then we help people really see this is where you were there, and this is what you're noticing now. Okay, now, what are you going to do next to actually put that into action? So next time you're listening to someone, how do you notice, oh, I'm already analyzing and judging. I haven't even heard I haven't even heard a minute worth. In fact, there's a quote about doctors. They can't listen for longer than like 17 seconds. They're done. They have to. They can't. They can't. And I'm sure that's not the case. But that's an example where oh my goodness, that's what's happening. That's why. And that's why people are shutting down. That's why they're not opening up to me. That's why I'm not getting great ideas, because when you judge, they can hear you saying you're not good enough. This is not good enough, or I don't agree with you. You haven't even said a word. You're just doing your thing, right? You're just saying what you normally say. You're being who you normally. But they know you're not listening, and so then they feel smaller, and they either get angry at you because you're dissing them, or they shut down because you're not sending the message that I think you're important. So those are the kinds of things that people don't see. It's a blind spot, and then when they see it, and then this shift, and that's the insight, and then they have changed.
How does that show up in a coach's life? As a coach, you're in the mode of also, that's what at least my understanding of a few coaches or a lot of coaches that we've interacted with is they try to get an answer to the person that they're talking to. Whereas it seems like what you're really saying is, as a coach, you have to create the space for them to be able to listen to their higher intelligence, intuition, whatever you want to call it. How does that play out? And in your experience, what have you seen?
Change happens in the client's brain, right? So each insight is creating new connections among neurons, which are then going to build out over, and you can only grow a millimeter of new neural connections a day, right? So that's like a one insight a day, maybe two. I don't know how many, but you can't do instant transformation as much as people talk about, overnight change. It doesn't. It may be lots of little changes that build up, and then all of a sudden it seems like transformational change arrived. But a lot of little things happened before that happens. So, so we also have the need not only for autonomy, but to be competent. Okay, we all do. We all want to look like we know what we're talking about. So there's a natural urge to give people the answer. You want to help, and you know the answer. Okay, so what happens when you give the answer is nothing happens in your client's brain. Nothing. Because they didn't have the insight. Maybe once in a while the information will lead to new connections. But it may not, how do you know that you got the right information for what their brain needs right now to make new connections that would move forward? It's impossible to guess. You have to let the conversation unfold and figure out where is their growth edge right now and what insight do they need right now. The hardest thing to do is to not give the answer, right? For coaches, it's really hard not to do that. But sometimes it's the right thing to do. And the only time to do it is when the client is not going to find the answer. You have a sense that you could talk about this all day and they're not going to unlock the lock with the key. And you might say, I have a thought. Do you want to try this on? I wonder if this is happening, causing this and leading to that. Oh, yeah. And then they get the insight. But it's rare that you hit the target. I mean, you don't know what's going on in their brains. You hardly know what's going on in your own. You don't know what key to the lock will create the ease and the insight of the moment. It's a nonlinear process, right? So big shift for us as coaches is understanding that it's not you that's having the insights, and that's a tough one, right?
Yeah,
you're not the one with the answers.
Yeah, but I love the insight that you just provided is that there's only that much neural change that is happening every day, and that's the insight that they're gonna get. And if you're gonna try and think that you can expand that neural network, you can't. They have to do it themselves. So you can't think your answer will actually expand the neural network. You're not doing
Most of the
anything
time
about it.
you'll have the wrong answer for the moment that needs to expand. Yeah. So instead you're more like a gardener. You're creating the conditions for neuroplasticity. You're actually the warmth, the safety, the inquiry, the mind expansion. You're asking questions they've never thought about before. They're more willing to go places in their minds than they had because you've created this space, and you're deeply connected to their mental process. And so it's like two brains, two energy fields, two minds together working on this. And so you don't get there by yourself. The coaching role is essential for the creation of, you have insight by yourself, but in a relationship, you speed it up a lot faster. You get changes that you wouldn't get by yourself. And so that then means that you have to be in your intuition and let one moment lead to the next and let the other person's brain and what's on their minds emerge and then see where the edge is and then help them get past it.
This is so powerful, which brings me to the third element of holistic coaching, which is emotional intelligence. What does it mean? How does it show up?
The way I think about it is that your emotions are the signals from your core self as to whether things are going well or not for you, right? So we now know, new work by Lisa Feldman Barrett, that the brain is a prediction machine and it's a concept making machine. So every experience, your brain is trying to predict what will happen next to keep you safe, get enough to eat, take care of whatever you need to take care of. And also so that it doesn't waste time. It starts to make patterns and create concepts, so that it say, well, that was like that one, and this one's like this one, and that tree, that's a tree because I saw other trees, and it's got a limb that's about to fall off, so that's not a good, I've seen it before, it fell off, right? So you create these concepts. And then the emotions are generated as your core self's response to those predictions, right? Telling you it's good, not good. So your brain's predicting and categorizing, and your emotions are your beings telling you this is good or not. So it is totally intricately intertwined with your human experience. Your logic comes in later because it's later more evolved, it's slower. Your brain is making predictions based on the past. So your emotions are responding to past experience. And so they generally are showing you that you might need an update. That you're actually, the truth in front of you may not be what your brain is predicting. So your emotions are important data to understand, and they tell you where to go and where to grow, because the more uncomfortable, stressful your emotions are, then there's something about the way you're seeing things that isn't helpful to you. So you don't have to look for growth edges. They're there because wherever the stress is, wherever the discomfort is right where you as a human being is being called to grow. So emotions are just signposts for, hey, we need an update. We need new truth. We need new insights. And if you see them that way, then instead of saying, I hate my emotions, they get in my way, they make me angry, they make me sad, they make me anxious. I don't want emotions. Instead, if you look at them as your core self responding to the current world based on the past, then if you step into them and you move them aside, you see the truth. They're actually guiding you to the truth in their own way. And someday, Ajit, I don't know if it will be in my lifetime, probably not, the physics of the mind will be explored. It's energy. We can't measure it, we can't see it, we can feel it. But it's a force, right? Our minds are forces. And so the more we realize it's really just physics. And the negative emotions are very magnetic, right? Because if you think about your positive core being positive, and then the magnet of the negative, positive and negative, no wonder it sticks to you like a koala bear, right? It's hard to shake off. It's hard to, and so when you're moving your emotions, like in mindfulness practices, you're actually demagnetizing the electrical energy between yourself and the negative emotion. You're actually almost like dissolving the magnet, so that you can see it objectively and you can use it as. I can tell you for myself, my focus on my own growth right now is only traveling where my emotions take me. I mean, I've got lots of ambition and lots of goals and lots of activities in my life, but I don't worry about that. That just flows if I just keep stepping into where's my emotional state and what's it got to tell me, and where's the truth that I'm missing that it's leading me toward.
That is beautiful. I would love for us to explore a little bit more on that tangent, the idea of that your emotions are guiding light in a way, or it's a direction or something that can lead to wherever your future is going to go into or can go into. Could you explore what is it that we as coaches tend to miss when it comes to guiding or working with emotions, and what we could look out for more as we are taking our clients through this journey?
Right. Okay. So I've been just talking a lot about negative emotions. So let's switch gears, because positive emotions are energetically quite different than negative emotions in that they don't stick magnetically, maybe because there is a positive charge in the core, and so they repel a little bit, so they don't hang around. So you feel good, and then the next minute you're already not feeling good, right? The beautiful moment, and then next moment you're complaining about something, or you're saying, oh, this isn't going to last, right? So positive emotions, the joy, the pleasure, the goodness, are very important to our brain function. And we need a sufficient dose of positive emotions to be able to focus, to think clearly, to be creative. You think about kids, right? They're creative because there's this laughing and this joy, so creativity can come out of tragedy too. So I don't want to limit creativity to positive emotions. But the positive emotions are what makes the brain work at its best. And so, and the negative emotions are the signposts to growth. So you need to have sufficient positive emotions so that people even have the resources to then address the challenges. So that means in a coaching session, you want to draw out as much in the way of positive emotions as you can. So first it's through the connection. You get asking like what went really well last week, or what are you enjoying most right now, and tell me a funny story about what just happened with your child. Or you want to pull out some positive emotions, because most people are already in the problems and stuck there, and they don't have the resources to pull themselves out. So you want to intentionally cultivate positive emotions, and we teach this in the course initially. And that's room for creativity as a coach, because there's a lot of different ways you can get people to laugh and to feel good about life in this moment. And then you gently work towards, so what do you want to, where do you want to shift today? Like, what kind of shift do you want to make? Where is that? And then something will pop up, and usually people have more resources to work on something more challenging when they've already got the positive resources. So they feel autonomous, they feel good in this moment, or feel better at least. And then when they step into the edge, where the discomfort is, I really wish I still can't listen better. Like, I don't get it. Like, I know I need to listen better. I know that would help my marriage, it would help my workplace, it would help whatever. But I get distracted. And then last time it was judging, and now it's, I've got too much to do. I don't have time. If I don't keep my mind on my own problems, life will fall apart. I'll fail, I'll stumble, I'll make a mistake, I'll forget something. So now that's today's growth edge. So the to-do list with 46 things, or 46,000 things, is now getting in the way of these moments of listening. So, I think that's actually an issue. Okay, so what would it be like if you actually set that list aside for just that moment? No, I can't do that. I can't do that. Okay, well, let's experiment. So what does the list look like? Okay, it's like stacked this high. It's, it's big. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how can you lighten it? Okay, we'll put it on wheels. Okay, can you wheel it away? Now, what would it be like to be in a moment where you wheeled away your to-do list? Because it has to go on wheels, right? It's so heavy. It's not just going to lift itself. It's not going to levitate off the ground, right? So it's your little levity, right? And then, okay, now can I imagine in a moment having the to-do list on wheels away? Okay, I think I can do that. Okay, so that's that. So, but you're not even going to be ready to even get that kind of work if there's not enough positive emotions. So basically the positive emotions provide the resources, the capital, that you then can use to lift the problem off its weight, put it on wheels, move it aside so that you can get the insight.
That is so beautifully put, and I love how you're also, as you're explaining these concepts, you're showing how you could do certain things to kind of change my state. The moment you talked about the to-do list, and you said, this is how you could provide, put it on the wheels, and can we move it away? It kind of immediately switches your state as you're listening to it, and you're going,
because instead of having this heavy thing,
you're actually,
just
why
some
not?
wheels.
So it's such a simple way that you kind of turned around the emotion of a really heavy thing. Like a negative list of to-dos that I have to do while I'm coming into the coaching session thinking, oh crap, I have to put an hour into this coaching session. I really don't have the time for it.
Yeah.
Right? Or 30 minutes or whatever.
Instead that you're energized.
Yeah.
And actually
instead of you're looking forward to it.
To-do list is only the list of things you can get done, right? It's not that long.
Yeah.
So the emotions are showing that you're attached to things are controlling you. So it's like your emotions have you on the leash. So you see people walking their dogs, but the dog's really walking them. Mm-hmm. You see that a lot because people don't get their dogs trained. Yeah. And so, and I have a front yard full of the results of people not knowing how to control their dogs. Okay, that's what your emotions are like. They're walking you on the leash, right? So you want to turn it around. You want to put them on the leash. And so you still have the emotions, but they're not controlling you. And that's what real transformational change is. is the shift from the I'm being controlled by my, not just my emotions, my thoughts, my ego, my identity, what I care, what I'm attached to gradually detaching from it, and so that your ego's on the leash, your emotions are on the leash. You have them, but they're not controlling you. That's the fundamental growth principle for humans.
Wonderful. So let me ask you the next element of holistic coaching, and that's body intelligence. Tell us more about what does it mean, how does it show up, and what do we want to be thinking about as a coach?
Newsflash. The mind and body are all together on this journey, and now we know that the nervous system is not just in the brain. There are other, the heart area and the gut area both have fairly substantial nervous systems, and when we're very much in control of ourselves, then the parts of us that are not under control, that are suffering, will speak to us in different languages. So you get a stomach ache, or you get heartache, or you get I'm just experiencing right now, and I was declipsing this the other day, that I've been exercising too hard and my legs are aching when I'm sleeping, like when and so I realized just this week, was one of my own little growth edges, was that I was trying to experience the aching in the morning, like what is this aching that isn't really touched by painkillers? And then I got yearning, okay? And then I went online and said, okay, what's the definition of yearning? It's sort of the painful yearning for aching for something. And I thought, okay, well, like, what am I aching for? Like, where is that coming from? Because I don't have this feeling all the time, but it's, it's something I experience from time to time. And so I realized that, yeah, I'm aching for things to be resolved, like the way I want them to be beautiful. Like I put all the effort in, I want them to be resolved. And I realized, oh, so my body is telling me that I'm yearning and aching for something. And it's coming through. Yeah, there's probably a little bit of, from overexercise. There's probably some real physical ache. But the message really was, oh, what if I just like enjoyed the beauty of the moment instead of yearning and aching for the beauty of the future, right? And so that's an example where the bodily sensations are actually telling you something that you're not hearing. It's the ability to slow down. So we talked about intuition, right? The other form of receive is sensing. So your body is, fully wired with sensory ability, right? Your hearing, your thinking, your touch, the physical sensations you have that are not emotions, and they're not thinking, and they're not intuition. And my experience is that your body will tell you. So if you're scanning a menu and you're trying to decide what to eat, if you slow yourself down, your body will tell you which item on the menu your body needs right now. If you slow down and you experience the menu, if you experience, okay, this is fish and this is, whatever, and of course your impulses are saying, can you order the French fries, or can you order the, have the extra glass of wine, or, everybody has this. But your body always has wisdom and so it's another source of data and wisdom, that just like your intuition. So the ability to attune to that, to awaken to your bodily sensations, to understand what they're telling you, what do you need more of, what do you need less of, and what can you do about that? That's always there, that intelligence. So we know what's good for us. We know what's not good for us. Our body has lots of wisdom, and so it's there to be listened to.
How do we get our clients, or how do we lean into understanding our clients' body intelligence, or how do we get our clients to lean into their body intelligence? How does that go?
Well, one of the simplest questions to ask is, if your body had a voice, what would it say? My body would say, eat the apple, not the chocolate cake. My body would say, stretch for 10 minutes before dinner instead of grabbing a drink. My body would say, so you just ask, what would your body say? Like the part of, because and then the other thing is so you ask a question, okay, where are you experiencing that in your body? Where is okay, I feel a sensation in my shoulders. Okay, what's that look like? And actually embody the experience of being human. So it's, I'm not an expert in acupuncture, but there's lots of traditions where the whole entire body energy systems are mapped. And so you push somewhere on your foot, and that tells you whether your liver is healthy. So I'm not an expert in those topics, but what I'm sure is the case is that your body is carrying your mind's field, right? The mind is embodied, and so a lot of sensations you have are coming from your mental processes or the physical processes coming up to your brain. So just ask what do you feel in your body right now? Mm-hmm. What are you feeling, and how could you shift that energy? So those are two simple questions.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for that. Let's go to the final element of holistic coaching, which is transformational change. How does that happen? What does it mean? What does it mean for a client to experience a transformational change?
Right. I'm going to refer to some scholarly work by a couple of coaches on the nature of insight. And they have a nice map, which is that there's 3 levels of change. The first is you learn something new. If I eat oatmeal for breakfast rather than a bagel, 2 hours later I have more energy. Okay, that's learning. Then the next level is you change your perspective. So the perspective is, rather than needing pleasure in the moment, because my day is crappy, I hate my boss, I don't like big parts of my life. The only pleasure I have is grabbing the donut at breakfast. Why, So the perspective shift would be, I want to actually take good care of myself. It's more important that I fuel my body with good fuel than make myself feel a little better in the moment. So that's a shift in perspective. I went from observing, I learned a little bit, to I have a new perspective on how I start my day. Then the next level up, and they accumulate, so little of each, and then the transformational change is when you actually change your identity. So I'm the kind of person that chooses to put self-care first because I want to take care of my family. I want to be a role model for my child. I want to be a role model for the people I work with. So now, instead of being someone that I was before, I have created a new identity. So that's transformational change. Really boils down to those moments when the change is added up. So you are now a different person. You see yourself as a different person than you did before. So it's little changes over time that then ultimately lead to a shift in who I am. And those shifts happen naturally. You don't actually have to make it happen. If you think back, we've just gone through a new year. You think back a year ago, what you were thinking about, what you were doing, how you were being in the world. You can see transformation. You can say, yeah, I didn't think that way. I was so worried about that. I was terrified about that thing I did or that thing that somebody else did. And now you can't even get a rise. It doesn't even move you. That's change. So we do it automatically. The brain does it all the time. We're constantly evolving. But often we get stuck, or we're not evolving fast enough to meet the demands of the moment. We're in over our heads. Mm-hmm. And so the value of coaching then is to speed it up and to not get stuck in, even though I made a lot of change in the last year, I still, get mad when my kid does this. I can't seem to get past that. And so then coaching can help you take the stickier things, the harder things to shift that are really, they have you on a leash, and help you unpack those and over time outgrow them. So you're basically accelerating the changes in your identity over time, and you're also making them happen more consistently and reliably, which then makes you feel like you have a little more control of your life. Mm-hmm. And yourself, right? Mm-hmm. That those things that you didn't think you could change can actually change. So then you start to think, yeah, I can transform. I can. Not overnight. Mm-hmm. But if I set at it and I'm diligent about it, I don't have to suffer. I don't have to be stuck in this place.
Could this be and literally the proposal of coaching in a way is to say you have a identity And the shift that we'll hope to work towards is a new identity. And it could be around a area, multiple areas, whatever that may be. But that's the process of you going through all the levels of holistic coaching eventually to lead to an identity shift.
Yes, that is transformational change, is the shift in who you are and how you see yourself. And even more than that, the steps of identity change are, first, your identity is related to what you think the external world wants. Like you're a teenager and you don't get invited to a party, and your identity is at question because somebody didn't think you were important enough to come to your party. So your identity is being defined by the external standard. Okay, so that's one. Then you get out of, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to create myself. I'm going to invent myself. I'm going to author myself, and that's the next stage called self-authoring. And then you end up with a really big ego. Mm-hmm. You've got this ginormous identity. Like you just know who you are, and you do this and you don't do that, and you believe this, and you this is how you are. It's the movies you like, the books you like, the people you like. And then the next stage is to let go of all that and realize that you are constantly changing, and you can be agile, and you can shift out of your identity. It doesn't have to control you. And then you become more in flow and more in a rhythm with the universe, as opposed to playing professional tennis. Hit the ball hard to the world, comes back hard, hit it hard. That's the ego. You're in a match with the universe. Like, I can beat the universe. I can beat my competitors. I can, that's the ego. So on a larger arc, yes, we're building our ego, and then we're in a lifetime, and then we're deconstructing it into our beautiful, whole, interesting, diverse selves. Where we don't get attached to being anything to anyone or on any day. This is the benefit of science. If you understand, like, neuroplasticity is about new connections. New connections relate to insights. Insights are about detaching from an old worldview and seeing things anew. Then it may be that the toolbox that we get from science can make us a bit more ambitious. Mm-hmm. And maybe then our clients will say, I'm up for that. I'd actually like to be not controlled by my current identity. I'm open for that. I'm not sure that everybody's ready for that. Mm-hmm. But I think that's where the future goes, if you are really understanding the nature of the mind and how it works and how it can change.
Thank you very much for this conversation, Margaret. Let me recap the training for you until now. We covered the 5 fundamentals of holistic coaching. We covered the psychology of coaching. We talked about mastering your mind. We discussed how emotions work and dove into emotional intelligence. We also discussed the role of body intelligence, and we understood transformational change. Now you have 2 ways of going forward. One is take this insight and take action towards it. Try and incorporate all of this in your practice. You have the building blocks now. Go ahead, do your research and do your testing. You could go ahead and do all of that, what I just said. But has that worked for you out yet? The answer is probably no, which is why let's talk about your other option. Join Margaret and deep dive into her exclusive program called Holistic Coaching that was developed through years of research, hypothesis, and evidence. The Holistic Coaching program runs for 4 consecutive weeks. During this time, you'll spend around 20 minutes daily on video training with Margaret herself. Every week of the program is packed with breakthroughs and aha moments in 5 major areas of your client's life. As you go through these 4 weeks with hundreds of coaches by your side, you will experience the 5-part framework that you briefly heard about today. You will take a deeper dive in coaching psychology. You will gain more confidence in facilitating new insight. You will be able to consciously create conditions in your coaching sessions that create space for those insights to emerge. This alone will give your clients results beyond their expectations. We will understand how our mind intelligence works, how to use our neurons to create shifts in our lives, how to utilize brain science to cause transformation for our clients, even if you're not a neuroscientist. You will be empowered to really use emotions as guideposts. Emotions have hidden messages that are there to help propel your client. When unseen, they are missed opportunities. You will understand where those emotions are and how to use them for real change in your client's life. You will have access to understanding your client's body intelligence. This will help you know how to use their bodies to identify messages and use their body intelligence for creating change. Lastly, we will understand the science behind transformational change. These quantum shifts that you create in your clients' lives is what makes you a referred coach. It makes you someone that can create lasting change for your clients. So go ahead and scroll below to see all the details of the program, and only on this page, secure this quest risk-free for a massive discount. As you confirm your enrollment, you'll unlock each day of the holistic coaching program through EverCoach by Mindvalley's acclaimed Quest learning platform. It's an easy to follow and life-changing experience, and you're supported every step of the way by our team and our tribe facilitators. Let me share some evidence with you. I compiled some testimonies of past students of holistic coaching for you. Lavon from USA says, the holistic coaching course provided a clear framework of evidence based on information and techniques that I have been able to implement with my clients, myself, and my business right away. Sabine from Minneapolis shared, this was one of the best courses I have ever completed on transformational change. I love the holistic view of how people change and how coaching can support them on their journey. I was immediately able to apply the tools and techniques to see an uplift in my coaching effectiveness. I also feel better equipped to guide my own growth and move past my stuck places. Caroline, who's a life coach, said, the content is so great. I love Meg's wisdom and very practical demonstration. If you're already a coach, this content will help you be in a higher level and build your own model. And these are just few among many others that loved holistic coaching and the results they were able to create because they took this quest. On this page, you will find a very special link which offers you holistic coaching quest at an incredible discount. This discount is available only through this page, so make sure you keep it open so you can have a chance at securing it. Here's the thing. We at EverCoach believe that our clients shouldn't have to pay if they didn't like something or they are not getting the results we promised, which is why even with this huge discount, you get a full 15-day money-back guarantee. This means you get to take this 4-week quest for the first 15 days completely risk-free. It's like depositing a small fee before test driving the quest. You have nothing to lose. You don't like what you see? Send us an email and we will return your deposit. It's really that simple. Here's the deal. You see, to access this information, you would otherwise end up paying thousands and thousands of dollars. To coach with Margaret, it costs 6 figures. Why spend so much when you can distill all the information for such a small fee? Without science-backed coaching, you may get results sometimes. You are an awesome human being. Of course you create transformations. But will that last? Will it be consistent? Will it work when it's so important? You can't say that for sure, right? Which is why this class is so important, which is why this quest is so important. It shows you the science and it creates predictability. If you're thinking, this seems so complicated, let me tell you that it is not. In the next couple of minutes, you will see how psychology influences you on a daily basis. You will see it's actually easier to coach this way because it's so systematic and creates predictable results. If you're thinking, these seem too good to be true, I'm with you. It does. And I'm here to tell you that it is that good, but it is also true. Margaret has spent years of research and study on coaching psychology, so don't think this came overnight and might be just a hidden trial method. It is rooted in real science. As you confirm your enrollment, here is what the next 4 weeks will look like for you. On week 1, we'll go deeper into the psychology of coaching. You will learn the psychology behind human motivation and confidence, so you can understand what produces transformational change that can stand the test of time. We start with the psychology behind coaching, why we do what we do, and how it affects our clients. We go into 4 of the most important motivation, mindset, and behavior change models: the self-determination theory, the trans-theoretical model of behavior change, motivational interviewing, and relational flow. We wrap up this week by exploring how to integrate all these theories into your daily practice. Week 2, we dive into mastering your mind. The role of coaches is to help our clients organize their minds. Before we can do that, we have to understand how the mind works so we can organize our own minds at the first place. You'll understand the importance of organizing your mind, learn the 6 rules of mind and how it really works. Discover the GPS of the mind and how it helps you navigate the different brain states. How to use the different brain states in a coaching session and strategies that allow you to use your brain in all the different brain states. In week 3, it is all about emotional and body intelligence. You will learn how to listen to what your emotions have to say. Meet all the 9 inner parts that influence your life. Learn strategies on how to understand and decode your emotions and help your clients manage difficult situations and have a better quality of life. You will meet your inner family, the source of your needs, values, strengths, and emotions. Learn the decisional balance tool to help your clients make decisions. Learn the basic techniques to help your clients generate more positive emotions and settle negative emotions. You'll learn the 3 main pillars to understand body intelligence and why is it relevant to access your body's inner wisdom to live a better quality of life. We will share with you the guide to self-attunement for you to learn how to increase your body intelligence. In week 4, we dive into transformational change. The only way we can help shift the world is through transformational change. People need to learn how to adapt to the fast-changing environment without feeling overwhelmed or stressed. And this can only be achieved when they learn how to transcend their growth edges and be the leaders of their own life. In this key section of the program, you'll learn what are growth edges and how they can help us and our clients learn, become more resilient, and adaptable. You will learn the Declipse habit, a revolutionary technique Margaret developed to settle an agitation and get past your own growth edges. You will also learn the importance of self-leadership in today's world and the role you play as a coach in teaching others to be self-leaders. While you will get all of those as training, what you also get are 2 coaching sessions where Margaret actually shows you how to use these strategies in a coaching setup. Listen, let's be real here. For a few $100s, you're getting a real tool book that is worth thousands of dollars. You're getting it at a massive discount and it's completely risk-free for you. So if anything, I suggest you give Holistic Coaching Quest a try. You like it, you keep it. You don't like it, just ask for your deposit back. It's really that simple. Sometimes we get questions like, is this mobile friendly, as you might be someone who studies on the go? Well, it is. You can download our amazing app, keep the audios on your phone so you can access even when you are offline. You might wonder, it's a 4-week program. Does it mean I have to do it now? You can, if you want, but you can also do it whenever you want. It will be better if you do it in the next 4 weeks, but you can take this quest at your own pace. No pressure. You might wonder, how much time do I need each day? Well, as much time you need for an educational coffee break, about 20 minutes a day. You can take that time while you are commuting, taking a short break, dropping kids to school. That's all the time you need. We designed these quests to fit into your schedule so you can make progress every single day. You might be wondering, how can I be sure if this works for me? Well, there's one easy way to find out. Leave a deposit and take this quest for a try. We only know what really works for us when we actually give it a try. So why not just give it a try? It is completely risk-free for you. You might wonder, how long do you have to decide if you can take this offer? Well, only 24 hours to get this huge a discount. You can always buy it at the full price later, but why pay the full price when you can get it at a discount right now? And that also such a great one. It's a better deal. I'm pretty sure you're convinced that this quest is for you. There may be something within you that may still be stopping you. This usually is fear. Fear of failure, of not being good enough, not feeling worthy of it. It may be because you've taken courses in the past and they haven't really done what they promised. I feel your pain. We make our best effort to only deliver the best of products through our channels. We take months to develop our products, invest thousands of dollars in creating a beautiful experience for you. Unlike other companies that may have wronged you, we actually care, which is why we're known for our exceptional support and our courses are rated highest by our students. I would love to show you the power of holistic coaching with Margaret Moore. Thank you so much for watching. You're doing an amazing job in the world. Keep serving, keep loving, and I'll see you soon.